Hey everybody, welcome back to more Space Marine. I'm still Nick Roth. Today I have new guest commentary, Senrath, with me.
Hello everybody.
Hey, and we have just dealt with our little wave of orcs. We've met up with some Imperial Guard, and hopefully we will go meet up with the Inquisitor Drogan and see if we can't give him a little assistance. And this audio log right here is actually the first time we will be hearing a little bit about, I guess, what Inquisitor Drogan was actually doing on the Forge World itself. I guess the actual workings of the Inquisition are a little bit massively different, I should say, from the rest of the Imperium.
To elaborate a bit further, the Inquisition pretty much does whatever it thinks is necessary for the betterment of the Imperium, and no one can really call them on it. Because they're the ones who decide if you're a heretic. They're the ones that decide if your planet should be blown up because, you know, an infestation of chaos or whatnot. So, you really don't want to piss them off, ever.
Yeah, and it's never really a case of questioning the Inquisition. If you think the Inquisition is doing something evil, you're gonna have a lot of trouble convincing anyone of that, because nobody knows what the Inquisition does outside the Inquisition.
Really, if you think an Inquisitor is doing something evil and is tainted or whatnot, you go to another Inquisitor.
Yeah, and hope that they aren't actually, you know, chaos or something.
Right, yeah, it's not a good position to be in, especially since, at least going by the RPG rules, an Inquisitor can take on a Space Marine in one-on-one combat, and depending on I guess the experience of the Marine, how long they've been in active duty, could potentially come out, you know, actually relatively unscathed.
Yeah, but yeah, actually this entire chapel right here is actually, it had, like, all those old turrets we'll be seeing a lot more of way later in the game. But yeah, it's just an interesting little set piece there, because mostly that's probably the only time you'll ever actually see a security system still working anywhere on this entire planet. And it really goes to show, as they said, like, this place is mostly untouched by orcs. So they're, like, hearing the Inquisitors say, like, oh, I'm completely surrounded, or hearing anything about orcs in this entire area just seems kind of confusing.
Titan Invictus seems undamaged, at least.
Titan Invictus seems unused, you mean? Is this invasion not enough to bring out the War Titans?
It takes hundreds to go.
But then we actually get our first real shot of the, I guess, a Warlord Titan.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's definitely not anything higher than a Warlord Titan, or it wouldn't fit in the room.
Yeah, I think the next highest one has basically little buildings on its shoulders, and it's a monstrosity.
I think that was like one of those, and it was the first Titan ever.
Yeah, it's a monster, to say the least. And pretty much, really, I mean, in some games, like Battletech, where there's just huge mechs everywhere, and they're getting destroyed left and right, it may seem like, oh, it's just another big-ass robot. In the 40k universe, this thing is worth more than, you know, 1,000,000 lives. If this thing gets lost, heads will roll, people will die.
Yeah. And especially considering that, you know, sure, it's a big robot, but you have to also consider that the character we're playing again is like 8 to 10 feet tall, and it's huge for him.
Yeah, when they do make the statement of, well, you know, there's an entire orc fighting force out there, why didn't they bring out this big robot? It's because they need a substantial, you know, 50 to 100 people to run that robot, and they have to be specially trained to run that big-ass robot. You know, it's not like Voltron where it's just 5 dudes at one control panel, like, pressing buttons. It's a big, massive fucking hulking robot.
Not when all the planets.
And it's got its own little prayers on its side to make sure the guns work.
Everything has those.
And now you're not worried about it
Yeah,
at all.
even the doors.
Yeah, I swear, someday in the future, we'll come across something that has a prayer strip attached to the prayer strip.
Take your stations.
I'm assuming that's by the end of the game, that's how we're gonna look with all our little purity seals and special upgraded magic powers. But I guess I should mention really quick in that audio log we just got, they actually mentioned something called the Skitarii, which for 40k people they do know. That's actually just the fighting force of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They have their own little robot bodyguards and servitors with huge guns strapped to them. The thing is, though, they do not pretty much actually exist in the game anywhere. It's, yet again, just going back to the fact that, as far as you can tell, this Adeptus Mechanicus had no defenses whatsoever, except for one big-ass gun.
Which, a big-ass gun that managed to shoot down multiple ships simultaneously, despite having a very low rate of fire.
It fired magic bullets, like the one that got Kennedy, just kind of curves. But conspiracy theories aside, there's actually this huge emblem here. It actually has inscribed on it what appears to be a prayer, or one example of the prayer that the Mechanicus would probably use in actually trying to get their machines to run. I think you were actually saying that in what was the uplifting...
The Imperial Guardsman's uplifting primer, there's a section in the back of the book that has a little short prayer for the guardsmen to say before they do pretty much anything related to anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's probably why many of them don't use automatic weapons, because I think, it's pretty much every time they fire a bullet, it's like, please God, let this work. Please God, let this work.
Well, it's not quite that much. It's with the automatic weapon, they'd use them if they could get assigned.
Yeah, I think, well, that's another thing, is just like, especially when you're dealing with an army the size of the Imperial Guard, it's not a case where you really sometimes have enough guns or munitions or vehicles to go around, so they really are meticulous about never losing track of anything.
Yeah, and even the whole, here's your t-shirt and flashlight kind of thing, that stuff is actually, really valuable, even if it's not considered to be that all effective. And still, that's all they can really give to the majority of their forces, because that's what they have.
Now, speaking of not being effective, how about this huge orc fighting force? I assume these are 2 elite shooters, and yeah, they're dead. Yeah, this is another one of those areas where it's just kind of like, are we supposed to be fighting a bunch of people here, or I don't know what's supposed to be going on here.
Based on the fact that they're giving you ammo boxes, it makes it seem like there should be people here. And if to be perfectly frank, if I came through this section the first time playing the game, I would assume it glitched and that there was supposed to be a horde of enemies.
Pretty much, and it just goes back to what some people. I heard a lot of people when the game was released, they would go through an area and they would be like, where is everybody? I'm supposed to be fighting, and instead I'm just running from area to area. And really, that's how I would normally play this area. I would just run right through, because there's nothing stopping
you run right through there. Oh wait, here's something stopping you.
Yes. What better thing to do than, normally elevators are loading screens, so let's just kind of not even put an effort into hiding the loading screen. It's just a really tedious way to slow down progress in the level. And really, the fact that they kind of hide the perspective of what's on the lift as it's coming down, you'd figure there'd be like a whole bunch of enemies, ready to like race at you,
or at least a bunch of bomb squigs.
Yeah, and instead, that huge orc force we were worried about doesn't exist. Like, maybe the Inquisitor was just hallucinating.
Maybe.
Or maybe he just cut himself and he just really wants attention.
Prepare the power
it's like a teenage girl.
Release.
One moment.
Yeah, there's the back of him at least. You see his nice little backpack. I have no idea sometimes what those backpacks do.
Inquisitor Drogan?
I am Drogan. And you are?
Captain Titus of the Ultramarines. We received your distress call, but you seem to have weathered the enemy's attack.
I am soldier and scientist both, Captain.
What is the status of the experimental device?
The power source is running the entire manufactorum from the generator room.
This device is a fuel source, not a weapon?
It is a complex device and an unstable one. If the orcs find it, they'll try and take it apart. It could detonate with enough force to destroy the entire planet.
Then we must move it to safety.
And for that, Captain, I need your aid. This way.
You are wounded, Inquisitor.
So that is, well, this is our new battle buddy, Inquisitor Drogan, and he's informed us that there's apparently, you know, this massively dangerous power source that's, you know, hidden very near the Titan that we need to save. So, you know, we're gonna have to put the whole saving the Titan thing on hold for right now, because we do need to make sure the planet doesn't blow up because of this mysterious power source.
Detected.
Space Marine! You try to steal my Titans? Steal my loot? I'll rip your guts right out your throats!
And hey, look, you remember there's an orc warboss in this game? Well, apparently the game finally decided to remember it a couple of hours later, because I don't think we've seen anything of the orc warboss for outside of the kill cruiser.
No, that was definitely the last time we saw him.
He's just as ineffectual here as he was back there. He decided he wanted to yell at us and then run away.
Which is totally how orc warbosses work. They don't fight ever.
He's probably like one of those management-oriented warbosses. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty. And he got so big due to not fighting at all, I guess. I don't know. I can only assume that maybe they wanted to make the future boss battle with him something very unique and original, except they will have the Warboss come out at just random times to yell at you and then basically show himself as being very ineffectual.
I don't know, it might be they couldn't come up with any plausible explanation for how he would escape from you if they wanted to keep using him.
Like just have, well, we'll see that the orcs actually do have a reasonable means of teleportation in just a couple rooms here. Yeah, I can definitely see. I mean, I guess they could set up. Maybe if they didn't make a Nob such a normalized enemy, they could have had, you know, like a larger ranking Nob. I think they have like Nob commanders.
They have all sorts of ranks.
Yeah, or they could have put in orc commandos, have like a little stealth unit. That would have been kind of annoying, but interesting.
Well, the big thing about the orc commandos is they'd confuse the heck out of someone who had no idea what the orc commandos were supposed to be. It's like, yeah, okay, there's a cardboard cutout of a space marine in the corner. We'll ignore it.
Yeah, the orcs are not actually. Some of them are not very big on technology. They mostly want to stay feral and savage and not, you know, adopt new ideas. And then there's the orcs that are just straight up about combat, taking down people however they can. And the idea of camouflage seems kind of counterintuitive to them. So, yeah, camouflage is kind of a foreign concept to most orcs. And then the ones that actually do it, they still don't really grasp it entirely.
I still think my favorite orc commando is the figurine that has essentially a cardboard cutout of an ultramarine that he holds in front of himself.
Yeah, I know. I've seen one where he's just like dressed up in a stack of tires.
Yeah, there's like a stack of tires. There's a couple that are in like oil barrels. One of them has a sign pointing to him that says "Not an Orc Commando."
Yeah, I guess I should point out real quick that was a weird boy. That is the Orc Psyker. Normally, a warband will only have one Psyker per, you know, huge mass of orcs, because it's supposed to be channeling pretty much all the law of a particular warband to do its like psychic powers. But the thing is, when you have multiple weird boys, you're kind of diluting that power. So they usually try to stay to like 1 per warband, but we'll be seeing a few more weird boys over the course of the game.
Well, the other thing is
Well, actually,
they're also dangerous to keep around, just like any kind of psyker. Because if they mess up, they go boom. And
orcs are pretty much prone to not really doing things correctly a lot of the time.
That guy got stuck in the wall.
Yeah, that is also our first introduction to the Ard boys. I know I mentioned a few videos ago there's like the melee dual wielding guys. Those are actually called Scar boys. And there's a good reason why I didn't know what the hell those were called, and it's because they're never really brought up anywhere.
Didn't the thread say like they were from an older edition and they haven't actually really been used since?
Yeah, they haven't been used since the 3rd edition, which I think they're on like the 4th or 5th.
Some of them are still on their 4th edition codex, I think, but some are on their 5th.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, but the Ard boys we'll be seeing more of. I know I just kind of cheesed them with our new replacement to the bolt pistol, the plasma pistol. The plasma pistol is actually a pretty good update to the bolt pistol. It actually has some fairly good uses, mostly due to its charging shot. The charging shot will pretty much knock everything on its ass outside of a knob, and even for a knob, it will stun them. So you can, yet again, just stun lock a knob by shooting charge shot after charge shot at it. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you can stun them and then run up, melee them a couple times, and then repeat the whole charge shot process. It can be a bit cheap, but if you're having troubles, it's an easy way to get out of a scrape. Or just to build up fury, I think. But rather oddly, they give you the option of going back to the chainsword, but you know, after we've spent the first hour or so of the game with the chainsword, I think I'll stick with the power axe just to have enough flashy bits going on still.
Engage the decoupling sequence, Captain. You must keep the chamber secure until the power source is exposed.
And rather oddly, this huge housing chamber here it's an interesting set piece, along with the whole icy effect. I guess the energy source that we don't know what power it comes from is it apparently gives off a very cold and chilling effect to everything around it.
Head into the central
and
chamber.
The bad thing is we will never actually be seeing this snow effect ever again. But sadly, I guess the orcs followed us, and what we assume to be the fact that they just wanted to keep the plot going. They just now have the ability to magically teleport wherever they want to.
Hold back the greenskins, Captain.
The bad thing is that teleporting anywhere near the Space Marine Captain is pretty much instant death, because, you know, even with 2 orc knobs, the Vengeance Launcher just makes them a complete joke.
And that's the second time he's used that threat. First time was in the cutscene. So I must really like it.
Yeah, what was it? I'm gonna rip off your throat and spit down your neck.
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Run from me, Space!
Yeah, he's a lot more threatening now than he was on the Orc, or the Kill Cruiser. He actually does fire a few very poorly placed rockets.
He is technically more threatening in that he could potentially kill you if you sat there and let him, but he's still not acting very much like a Warboss.
Yeah, it would be a combination of getting hit by rockets and being hit by Orc boys and Ard boys. And we lost the one servitor that was actually working on the entire planet. That's a shame. Thankfully, there are no backups to that particular servitor, so we are left with the only available option, which is, well, it's a highly dangerous energy source. Go pick it up, Titus.
And the captain doesn't question the sanity of this at all.
Yeah, it'll work.
And we're dead.
Yeah, that's the end of the game. Cut to dead body, we become a dreadnought.
That would actually be really awesome. Why couldn't they have done that?
Because dreadnoughts would crush the MacGuffin. But yeah, we're actually going to be keeping our little lantern here for pretty much the rest of the game. And it will be our main driving force as well. Next time we'll be continuing the game inside the wonderfully complex sewer system. I do want to thank Senrath for joining me on this update.
These tunnels will spit us out there.
It was fun.
Fine.
Yes, it was a very exciting section of a lot going on. But yep, see you next time on some more Space Marine.